The registration hall was massive. It stretched so far that Danny Cole could barely see the other end. Thousands of aliens moved through the space, each one more terrifying than the last. Some had scales. Some had claws longer than his forearm. Some had multiple arms or eyes that glowed in the dim light. And all of them were here for the same reason he was, the Valkyrin Grand. Tournament. Danny walked through the crowd with his head down and his worn duffel bag over his shoulder. Nobody looked at him. Nobody cared about the small human in the faded jacket who moved between the giants like a ghost. He preferred it that way. He found the registration desk after 20 minutes of searching. A bored-looking alien with gray skin and 4 eyes sat behind the counter. It barely glanced at Danny when he approached. "Species?" The alien asked in a flat voice. "Human." The alien's 4 eyes blinked one at a time. It looked at Danny as if seeing him for the first time. Then it made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Human," it repeated. "You want to enter the tournament?" "Yes. You understand what this tournament is? Fights continue until surrender or death. No weapons. No armor. Just you and your opponent." Danny nodded. "I understand." The alien shrugged all 4 of its shoulders. "Your funeral, little creature." It processed his documents without further comment. "You are registered. Fighter number 412. Your first match is tomorrow. Good luck. You will need it." Danny took his credentials and walked away. Behind him, he could hear the alien telling its coworker about the stupid human who had just signed up to die. He found his quarters in the cheapest section of the fighter housing. The room was barely larger than a closet. The bed was hard, and the walls were stained with something he chose not to think about. But it had a communication terminal, and that was all he needed. He sat down and entered the connection code he knew by heart. The screen flickered for a moment, then his sister's face appeared. Megan looked tired. She was only 16, but the sickness had aged her. Dark circles under her eyes. Skin too pale. But she smiled when she saw him, and that smile was worth everything. "Danny, you made it." "I made it," he said. "How are you feeling?" "Same as always." She tried to sound casual, but he could see the tremor in her hands. The neural degeneration was getting worse. Without treatment, the doctor said she had maybe a year. The treatment existed, but it cost more money than Danny would make in 10 lifetimes working as a mechanic on their little station. 5 million galactic credits. That was the tournament prize. That was what he needed. "You don't have to do this," Megan said quietly. "Danny, I've seen videos of this tournament. These aliens, they're not like anything on Earth. They'll kill you. They might try. This isn't a joke. I know it's not." Danny leaned closer to the screen. "Megan, listen to me. I spent 6 years in the underground fighting circuits on the orbital colonies. I fought people twice my size. I fought people who wanted me dead. I'm still here. Those were humans. These are aliens with claws and armor, and they've never fought a human before," Danny said. "They don't know what we can do. They look at us and see small, weak creatures with no natural weapons. They see prey, aren't we?" Danny smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "No, we're not." The next morning, he made his way to the fighter preparation area. The space was filled with warriors from dozens of species, all of them preparing for their matches. Some lifted weights that looked heavier than small vehicles. Some sparred with training partners, their movements almost too fast to follow. Some sat in meditation, their bodies perfectly still. Danny found an empty corner and began to stretch. Simple movements. Nothing flashy. A few of the nearby aliens glanced at him and quickly looked away, clearly unimpressed. "You're the human." Danny looked up. An elderly alien stood before him. Its skin was wrinkled and blue, and its eyes were kind. Danny recognized the species from his research. A Selvian. Merchants and scholars, not fighters. "I'm Torek," the alien said. "I've watched this tournament for many cycles. I've never seen a human enter before. First time for everything." Torek made a sound like rustling leaves. A laugh, Danny realized. "Indeed. I must ask, young human, why are you here? You must know the odds against you. I know the odds. And yet you came anyway." Torek studied him with those ancient eyes. "Interesting. Very interesting." He glanced at the board, showing the day's matches. "You fight the Krethian in the first round. Do you know what a Krethian is? Big, strong, aggressive. They go into a berserker rage during combat." "Correct. They have killed many opponents in this arena. Their claws can tear through metal. Good thing I'm not made of metal." Torek laughed again. "I think I like you, human. I will watch your match with great interest." He turned to leave, then paused. "A piece of advice, if you want it. The Krethian is stronger than you, faster than you, more durable than you. But rage makes creatures stupid. Remember that." Danny nodded. "Thank you." The arena was enormous. 50,000 aliens filled the seats, their roars and howls creating a wall of sound that pressed against Danny like a physical force. He stood at one end of the fighting pit, wearing simple training clothes and nothing else. His hands were wrapped in tape. That was all the protection he had. At the other end of the pit, the Krethian emerged. It was massive. 8 feet tall with arms thick as tree trunks. Its skin was covered in bony plates, and its claws glinted under the arena lights. When it saw Danny, it let out a roar that shook the air itself. The crowd responded with their own cheers. Danny could feel their excitement. They were expecting blood. They were expecting a quick death for the foolish human who had dared to enter their sacred tournament. The announcer's voice boomed through the arena, but Danny wasn't listening. He was watching the Krethian, studying how it moved, how it breathed, where its weight was centered. The signal sounded. The Krethian charged. Danny didn't move. He stood perfectly still as the monster rushed toward him, claws raised, murder in its eyes. The crowd screamed in anticipation. At the last possible moment, Danny stepped to the side. The Krethian's claws sliced through empty air. It stumbled, confused, and turned to find Danny standing calmly behind it. The human hadn't attacked. He was just watching. The Krethian roared again and charged once more. Again, Danny moved at the last second. Again, the alien hit nothing. This continued for several minutes. The Krethian grew more furious with each failed attack. Its movements became wilder, more desperate. Exactly what Danny was waiting for. When the Krethian overextended on its next charge, Danny moved. Not away this time. Forward. His fist struck the soft spot under the alien's arm where the bony plates didn't cover. The Krethian gasped. Danny followed with a kick to the back of its knee, dropping it to one leg. Then an elbow to the nerve cluster at the base of its skull. The Krethian collapsed. The arena fell silent. Danny stood over his fallen opponent, breathing hard but standing tall. He looked up at the crowd of 50,000 aliens and met their stares without flinching. Nobody was laughing at the human now. The medical bay was quiet. Danny sat on the examination table while a robotic arm scanned his body for injuries. The machine beeped softly and displayed its results. Bruised ribs. Minor muscle strain. Nothing serious. He had barely finished reading the results when the door opened. A human woman in a military uniform walked in. She was tall, with sharp eyes and the bearing of someone used to giving orders. "Danny Cole," she said. It wasn't a question. "That's me. Commander Alyssa Vance, Human Diplomatic Corps, assigned to this sector." She studied him with those sharp eyes. That was quite a performance out there. I didn't know humans had anyone stationed here. We have people everywhere. We just don't advertise it." She crossed her arms. "You've created a problem, Mr. Cole. Nobody expected a human to win that match. Now certain parties are very interested in you." "What kind of parties?" "The kind that don't want humans gaining prestige in the galactic community. The kind that prefer us to stay quiet and forgotten in our little corner of space." She paused. "You should be careful. Not all threats come from inside the arena." Danny considered this. "Are you telling me to drop out?" "No, I'm telling you to watch your back." Something that might have been a smile crossed her face. "Personally, I'm hoping you win the whole damn thing. It would be good for our people. Just don't get killed before you have the chance." She left without another word. Danny's second match was scheduled for the following day. His opponent was a Theshan, a species he had studied during his preparations. They were tall and thin, with 4 arms and reflexes that made other species look slow. In one-on-one combat, they were considered nearly untouchable. The night before the match, Danny didn't sleep. Instead, he watched recordings of Theshan fights. Dozens of them. He watched until his eyes burned, looking for patterns. Looking for weaknesses. Looking for anything he could use. By morning, he had found what he needed. The arena was even more crowded than before. Word had spread about the human who had defeated the Krethian. Aliens who had never cared about the early rounds now filled the seats, curious to see if the first victory was a fluke. The Theshan entered the arena with the grace of a dancer. Its 4 arms moved independently, each one capable of striking from a different angle. Its eyes were large and multifaceted, able to track movement in all directions. It looked at Danny with something like pity. "You should not have come back, human," it said. Its voice was soft, almost musical. The Krethian was slow and stupid. "I am not." Danny didn't respond. He was watching the Theshan's feet. The match began. The Theshan attacked with blinding speed. 4 arms striking in rapid succession, each blow aimed at a vital point. Danny dodged the first strike, blocked the second, took the third on his shoulder, and used the impact to spin away from the fourth. The crowd gasped. Nobody had ever survived a Theshan's opening assault before. The alien's eyes widened. It attacked again, even faster this time. Danny moved through the storm of blows like water flowing around stones. He wasn't trying to hit back. Not yet. He was learning. The Theshan fought in patterns. Most species did. 4 arms meant 4 times as many possible attacks, but the brain behind those arms still had limits. It fell into rhythms without realizing it. And Danny was very good at finding rhythms. 3 minutes into the match, Danny started to counter. He couldn't match the Theshan's speed, so he didn't try. Instead, he predicted where the attacks would come and was already moving before they arrived. When the alien's upper right arm swept toward his head, Danny ducked and drove his fist into its exposed side. When the lower left arm tried to grab him, he trapped it and used the Theshan's own momentum to throw it off balance. The Theshan stumbled. For the first time, there was fear in its multifaceted eyes. "What are you?" it whispered. Danny didn't answer. He pressed forward. The fight lasted another 4 minutes. Danny took hits. His lips split. His ribs screamed with each breath. But he kept adapting, kept learning, kept finding new ways through the Theshan's defenses. Finally, he caught one of the alien's arms and twisted. The joint bent the wrong way with a sickening crack. The Theshan screamed and fell to its knees. "I surrender! I surrender!" Danny released the arm and stepped back. The crowd exploded with noise. He couldn't tell if they were cheering or just shocked. Maybe both. He walked out of the arena on his own 2 feet. That was what mattered. Back in his quarters, Danny contacted Megan again. Her face lit up when she saw him. then immediately fell when she noticed his injuries. "Danny, your face looks worse than it feels." That was a lie, but she didn't need to know that. "I watched your match. Both of them." Her voice trembled. "How are you doing this? Those aliens, they're so much stronger and faster than you. Strength and speed aren't everything. Then what is?" Danny thought about the question. "Humans are strange creatures, Megan. We're not the strongest or the fastest. We don't have claws or armor or venom. But we have something else. We adapt. We learn. We figure things out." He touched the bruise on his cheek. "Every hit I take teaches me something. Every opponent shows me something new. And I remember all of it. That sounds exhausting. It is." He smiled at her. "But I've got a good reason to keep going." Megan's eyes filled with tears. "Danny, get some rest. I'll call you after my next match." He ended the connection before she could argue. Then he lay down on his hard bed and stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow, the third round began. The opponents would only get harder from here. But Danny Cole had made a promise to his sister, and he intended to keep it. High above the arena in the champion's private box, Zirith Kal watched a recording of Danny's match against the Deshan. The massive Varkeen warrior had won this tournament 7 times. He had never lost a fight in over 50 cycles. He had killed 11 opponents in this very arena. And for the first time in many years, he was paying attention to a lower-ranked fighter. "Interesting," he murmured. His voice was deep, like stones grinding together. "The human adapts. Shall I arrange an accident?" asked an aide standing nearby. It would be easy. No one would investigate the death of a human. Kal considered this. Then he shook his massive head. "No, let him advance. Let him believe he has a chance." A cruel smile spread across his face. "When I destroy him in the arena, I want the whole galaxy to see. I want them to remember what happens when lesser species forget their place." The aide bowed. "As you wish." Kal turned back to the recording, watching Danny Cole dodge and weave and strike with that strange human efficiency. "Enjoy your victories while they last, little human," he whispered to the screen. "Soon I will show you what true power looks like." Far below, Danny slept restlessly, dreaming of home and his sister and fights yet to come. He didn't know about the champion watching from above. He didn't know about the enemies gathering in the shadows. He only knew that tomorrow he would fight again, and he would win, because losing was not an option. The tournament moved fast. Within a week, Danny had fought 4 matches and won them all. Each victory cost him something. Bruises covered his body like a second skin. His ribs ached constantly, but he was still standing, and that was more than anyone had expected. His third opponent had been a Selkari, a species covered in scales that secreted a paralyzing venom. One touch from its skin could freeze a creature's muscles for hours. Danny had wrapped his torn shirt around his arm as protection and fought with only one hand available. It had taken 15 minutes, but he had forced the Selkari to surrender by targeting its soft throat whenever it tried to close the distance. His fourth opponent had been a Gorvan, a species built like a walking tank. 7 feet tall with skin so thick that normal punches did nothing. The crowd had laughed when Danny entered the arena. They stopped laughing when he spent 10 minutes landing precise strikes to the Gorvan's chest, targeting its weak respiratory system. The massive creature had collapsed, gasping for air, unable to continue. Now the whole galaxy was watching. "You've become famous," Tarek said. They sat together in the fighter preparation area. The elderly Selvian had taken to visiting Danny before each match, offering advice and company. Danny had grown to appreciate the old alien's wisdom. "I don't want fame," Danny said. "I just want the prize money. Fame comes whether you want it or not." Torek gestured at the other fighters in the room. Many of them were watching Danny now, studying him the way he had studied them. You've changed things. Before you, humans were invisible. Now, they're wondering what else your species can do. Danny continued wrapping his hands in tape. Let them wonder. The champion is wondering too. Torek's voice dropped lower. Zirith Cow. He's been watching your matches. He doesn't like what he sees. Should I be worried? You should be terrified. Torek's old eyes were serious. Kyle has won this tournament 7 times. He has never lost a fight. Not once in 50 cycles. The warriors he faces either surrender or die. There is no middle ground. Then I'll have to be the first to beat him. Torek made his rustling laugh, but this time there was sadness in it. I admire your courage, young human. I truly do. Just promise me you won't throw your life away needlessly. I won't, Danny said. I've got someone waiting for me back home. Commander Vance visited him that evening. Her expression was more serious than usual. You've made powerful enemies, she said without greeting. The Varkeen delegation has officially complained about your presence in the tournament. They claim your registration documents were forged. They were, Danny admitted. I know. I've already corrected the records. As far as anyone can prove, your documents are perfectly legitimate now. She sat down across from him. But this won't stop them from trying other methods. Watch what you eat. Watch where you walk. Don't go anywhere alone if you can help it. Thank you for the warning. Thank me by winning. Our eyes met his. You don't understand what this means to our people, Cole. Humans have been treated as a minor species for generations. Too weak, too primitive, too young. Your victories are showing the galaxy that we're more than they thought. I'm not fighting for humanity, Danny said quietly. I'm fighting for my sister. I know, but the result is the same. She stood to leave. Your next match is the quarterfinals. Your opponent is a Drakari hunter. Danny's stomach tightened. He had researched the Drakari. They were apex predators on their homeworld, evolved to kill with brutal efficiency. They had never lost a one-on-one fight in recorded history. Any advice? He asked. Yes. Vance paused at the door. Don't die. The quarterfinal match drew the largest crowd yet. The arena was packed beyond capacity, with aliens standing in the aisles and hanging from the railings. Screens throughout the station broadcast the fight to millions more. Danny walked into the arena feeling the weight of all those eyes. His body hurt. His hands were swollen and stiff despite the tape. But his mind was clear, and that was what mattered. The Drakari entered from the opposite side. It moved like liquid death, each step precise and controlled. Its body was covered in natural armor, with bone spurs jutting from its arms and legs. Its eyes were black and cold, the eyes of a predator that had never known fear. Human, it said, and somehow made the word sound like an insult. You have come far, farther than any of your kind before. But your journey ends here. Danny rolled his shoulders, loosening muscles that screamed in protest. We'll see. The match began. The Drakari was fast. Faster than the Veshan. Faster than anything Danny had faced. It closed the distance between them in a heartbeat and slashed with its bone spurs. Danny barely dodged, feeling the wind of the attack pass his cheek. He countered with a strike to the alien side. His fist bounced off the natural armor with no effect. The Drakari smiled with too many teeth. Your weapons are useless against me, human. What will you do now? Danny didn't answer. He was already moving, circling, looking for weakness. Every creature had weakness. He just had to find it. The next few minutes were the most brutal of Danny's life. The Drakari's bone spurs opened gashes on his arms and chest. His blood stained the arena floor. The crowd roared with excitement, sensing the kill they had been waiting for. but Danny didn't fall. Every time the Drakari knocked him down, he got back up. Every time it drove him to the edge, he found a way to survive. And slowly, he began to understand his opponent. The Drakari relied on its armor and weapons. It had never needed to develop defense because nothing had ever threatened it. When Danny started targeting the joints, the soft spots, the places where the armor didn't quite connect, the alien's confidence began to crack. The fight stretched on. 10 minutes. 15. 20. The Drakari was still dangerous, still deadly, but it was also tired. Its species had evolved for quick kills, not extended battles. And Danny Cole had spent his whole life learning to endure. "What are you?" The Drakari gasped, its movements growing slower. "Why won't you die?" Danny spat blood onto the arena floor. His vision was blurring. His body screamed for rest. But somewhere in his mind, he saw Megan's face. He heard her laugh. He remembered why he was here. "I can't afford to die," he said. "I made a promise." He attacked. The Drakari tried to block, but it was too slow now, too exhausted. Danny's strikes found the gaps in its armor. Knees, elbows, the soft tissue under the arms. Each hit weakened it further. Finally, Danny caught the alien's arm, twisted, and drove it face first into the ground. The Drakari struggled, but Danny held firm. "Surrender," he said through gritted teeth. For a long moment, the arena held its breath. Then, slowly, the Drakari went limp. "I surrender," it whispered. The crowd exploded. Danny released his opponent and stumbled backward. He could barely stand. He could barely see. But he had won. As the medical teams rushed into the arena, he looked up at the champion's box. Zirith Kal stood there, watching him with those cold predator's eyes. Danny met his gaze and didn't look away. The champion nodded once. An acknowledgement. A promise. They would meet in the arena soon. And only one of them would walk away. The medical bay smelled like disinfectant and alien chemicals Danny couldn't name. He lay on a bed while machines worked on his wounds. The gashes from the Drakari's bone spurs had been deep, and even with advanced alien medicine, they would leave scars. He didn't care about scars. Scars meant he was alive. "You should rest for at least 3 days," the medical drone informed him. "Your body has suffered significant trauma. Continued exertion could result in permanent damage. My semifinal is in 2 days. Then you will likely suffer permanent damage." Danny sat up despite the machine's protests. Noted. He contacted Megan that night. Her face appeared on the screen, and he could see she had been crying. Behind her, he noticed something new. A medical machine he hadn't seen before, blinking with soft lights. "They started the preliminary treatment," Megan said, following his gaze. "The doctors said the prize money would cover the full procedure. They're getting everything ready. That's good." Danny felt something loosen in his chest. "That's really good, Danny." Her voice cracked. "I watched your last fight. You almost died. I didn't, though. This isn't a joke." Tears ran down her cheeks. "I can't lose you. I can't. If winning this tournament means losing my brother, then I don't want it. I don't want any of it." Danny was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke softly. "Do you remember when Mom and Dad died? In the station collapse?" Megan nodded, wiping her eyes. "I was 12 years old. You were 6. Everyone said we'd be split up, sent to different foster facilities. They said there was no way a kid could raise his little sister on his own." Danny touched the screen, wishing he could reach through it. "I made a promise that day. I promised I would always protect you. I would always take care of you. No matter what. Danny, I'm going to win this tournament. I'm going to get you that treatment. And then I'm going to come home, and we're going to have the life we always deserved. That's my promise." and I don't break my promises. Megan sobbed, but she was smiling now. You better not. I'm holding you to that. Get some rest. I love you. I love you too. The screen went dark, and Danny sat alone in his small room, gathering his strength for what was to come. The semifinal opponent was a Torvan, warrior priest named Varric San. Danny had studied him extensively. The Torvan were a species that had turned combat into a religion. They trained from birth, dedicating their entire existence to the perfection of violence. Varric San was considered the greatest of his generation. Tarek visited Danny the morning of the match. The old Selvian looked worried. Varric San is different from your other opponents, he said. The Krethian was rage without thought. The Veshan was speed without wisdom. The Drekari was strength without endurance. But the Torvan warrior priest has all of these things in balance. Then I'll have to be more balanced than him. He has trained for 50 years. You have trained for what, 10? 15? Danny finished wrapping his hands. I've trained my whole life. Every fight on the orbital colonies. Every day of survival in places that wanted me dead. Every moment of keeping my sister safe in a galaxy that doesn't care about humans. He looked at Torek. I may not have trained in a temple, but I've been forged in something just as hard. Torek was silent for a moment. Then he placed his wrinkled hand on Danny's shoulder. I have lived a long time, young human. I have seen many warriors come and go, but I have never seen anyone quite like you. Is that good or bad? I haven't decided yet. Torek's eyes crinkled with what might have been a smile. But I'm glad I'm here to witness it. The arena was different for the semifinal. The crowd was quieter, more focused. These were serious followers of the tournament, beings who understood what they were about to witness. Two of the greatest fighters remaining would battle until one could no longer continue. Danny entered first. The applause that greeted him was strange to hear. A few weeks ago, the crowd had laughed at him. Now they cheered. Humans across the galaxy had flooded the viewing networks, and many aliens had begun to root for the underdog who refused to lose. Then Varric San entered, and the arena fell silent with respect. The Torvan warrior priest moved like flowing water. His body was lean and hard, covered in ritual scars that marked his achievements. His eyes were calm, peaceful even. This was not a creature driven by rage or hunger for victory. This was a being who had found perfect harmony with violence. He stopped a few feet from Danny and bowed. Human, I have watched your fights. You have my respect. Danny returned the bow. Thank you, but respect will not save you today. I have dedicated my existence to combat. I have mastered every form, understood every weakness. You cannot surprise me as you did the others. Maybe not, Danny admitted, but I have to try. Varric San nodded solemnly. Then let us see what you are truly made of. The match began. Danny had thought the Drekari was fast. Varric San was faster. He had thought the Veshan was skilled. Varric San was more skilled. Every technique Danny tried, the warrior priest countered. Every adaptation was met with an equal adaptation. For the first time, Danny faced an opponent who could match him thought for thought. The minutes stretched on. Both fighters pushed beyond normal limits, beyond what should have been possible. Danny's body screamed with pain from his previous wounds. His vision blurred. His muscles burned. But he kept fighting. 15 minutes. Neither fighter had gained an advantage. 20 minutes. The crowd watched in stunned silence. No match in the tournament had ever lasted this long. Then Varric San landed a perfect strike to Danny's chest. Danny felt his ribs crack. The air rushed out of his lungs. He fell to his knees, gasping, unable to breathe. The arena held its breath. Surrender, Varric San said. There was no malice in his voice, only calm certainty. You have fought well, better than any creature I have ever faced. But this is the end." Danny's vision was going dark. He could feel consciousness slipping away. It would be easy to surrender, easy to let go. He had fought so hard. Surely no one would blame him for stopping now. Then he thought of Megan, her smile, her laugh, the way she used to follow him around the station when she was little, asking endless questions about everything. The promise he had made when their parents died. Danny Cole got back up. Varexon's eyes widened. For the first time, something like shock crossed his serene face. How? Danny couldn't answer. He could barely stand. But he raised his fists and waited. The warrior priest attacked again, and Danny moved. Not with skill, not with technique, just with pure, stubborn refusal to fall. He took hits that should have finished him. He kept moving when his body begged to stop. He fought with something beyond training, beyond talent. He fought with will. Varexon grew tired. His spiritual discipline had not prepared him for an opponent who simply would not stop. His movements slowed. His breathing grew heavy. And Danny, broken and bleeding, kept coming. Finally, Danny caught the warrior priest in a chokehold. Varexon struggled, but his strength was fading. Slowly, inevitably, the alien went limp. "I surrender," Varexon whispered. Danny released him and collapsed beside him. Both fighters lay on the arena floor, exhausted beyond words. The crowd erupted with noise, but Danny barely heard it. The warrior priest turned his head to look at Danny. "What are you?" he asked, the same question so many had asked before. Danny closed his eyes. "Just a guy who can't afford to lose." Medics rushed in to carry them both away. And somewhere in the galaxy, billions of beings watched the replay of a human rising from certain defeat, over and over again, trying to understand what they had witnessed. The final was set. Danny Cole versus Zirith Kal, and the galaxy would never be the same. The night before the final, Danny sat alone in his quarters. His body was held together by medical tape and alien painkillers. The doctor said he shouldn't fight. They said his injuries were too severe. They said continuing would likely kill him. He was going to fight anyway. A soft knock came at his door. When he opened it, Tarek stood there, looking older and more tired than Danny had ever seen him. "May I come in?" The Selvian asked. Danny stepped aside to let him enter. They sat together in silence for a long moment. "I have watched this tournament for over 60 cycles," Tarek finally said. "I have seen thousands of warriors fight and die. Champions have risen and fallen. Species have proven their worth or been humiliated." He turned to look at Danny with those ancient eyes. "I have never seen anything like you. I'm not special. I'm just too stubborn to quit. That is exactly what makes you special." Tarek reached into his robe and pulled out a small object. It was a stone, smooth and dark, with strange symbols carved into its surface. "This was given to me by my father when I was young. He said it would bring luck to whoever needed it most." He pressed it into Danny's hand. "I think you need it more than I do." Danny looked at the stone, then at Tarek. "I can't accept this." "You can. And you will." The old alien stood. "Tomorrow you face Zirith Kal. He has never lost. He has killed 11 opponents in that arena. Every advantage, every statistic, every prediction says you will die." Tarek moved toward the door, then paused. "But you have something he doesn't understand. Something no one in this galaxy truly understands about humans." "What's that?" Tarek smiled his rustling smile. "You don't know when to stop." The final match was scheduled for midday Galactic Standard Time. News networks across the galaxy interrupted their regular programming. Viewing numbers broke every record. In human space, entire planets stopped working to watch. This was more than a tournament final. This was a moment that would define how the galaxy saw humanity for generations to come. Danny walked through the corridors toward the arena. Every step hurt. Every breath reminded him of his cracked ribs. But he kept walking. Commander Vance met him at the entrance. She was in full dress uniform, and her eyes were bright with emotion. "The entire human diplomatic corps is watching," she said. "Every ship, every station, every colony. You're not just fighting for yourself anymore, Cole. I know. Don't let that pressure get to you. Fight like you always have. Fight for your sister." Danny nodded. Then, to his surprise, Vance pulled him into a brief hug. "Make us proud," she whispered. Then she was gone, and Danny was alone at the gate. The arena doors opened, and sound hit him like a physical wall. 50,000 aliens screaming, roaring, howling. He walked into the light, and the noise grew even louder. Half the crowd was chanting his name. The other half was chanting for his death dot at the opposite end of the arena. Another gate opened. Zirith Kal emerged. The champion was massive. Nearly 9 feet tall, with muscles that rippled beneath dark, scaled skin. His species, the Varkeen, had evolved as apex predators. They were stronger than almost any other sentient race. Faster. More durable. And Kal was the greatest of his kind. He walked toward the center of the arena, with the casual confidence of someone who had never known defeat. His eyes found Danny, and his lips curled into a cruel smile. "Little human," he said, his voice carrying across the sudden silence. "You have done well to come this far. Better than any of your weak species before you. But your story ends here." Danny said nothing. He was studying the champion, looking for weakness, looking for anything he could use. Nothing to say? Kal laughed. "Perhaps you finally understand. You cannot adapt to me. You cannot outlast me. I am everything you have faced before, combined into one being. I am your death." The signal sounded. Kal attacked. Danny had thought he was ready. He was wrong. The champion was faster than the Vishan, stronger than the Gorvan, more skilled than Varric San. His first strike caught Danny in the chest and sent him flying across the arena. He hit the ground hard and tasted blood. "Get up," he told himself. "Get up." He rose just in time to dodge another attack. Kal's fist hit the ground where Danny's head had been, cracking the stone floor. The next few minutes were brutal. Kal battered Danny across the arena, toying with him. Every hit opened old wounds. Every impact drove Danny closer to unconsciousness. The crowd screamed for the kill. "Is this the best humanity has to offer?" Kal roared. "Is this pathetic creature your champion?" He grabbed Danny by the throat and lifted him off the ground. "I will kill you slowly, human. I will make an example of you. The galaxy will watch your kind crawl back into obscurity where you belong." Danny hung in the champion's grip, barely conscious. His vision was fading. His body had nothing left to give. Then he thought of Megan, her smile when she was healthy, the life they could have together, the promise he had made, and somewhere deep inside, something ignited. Danny's hand shot up and jabbed his thumb into Kal's eye. The champion howled and dropped him. Danny landed on his feet somehow, gasping, swaying, but standing. "You dare!" Kal snarled, one hand covering his damaged eye. "You worthless insect!" He charged, but his depth perception was compromised now. His attack was slightly off target. Danny slipped past it and drove his elbow into the back of Kal's knee. The champion stumbled. Danny didn't let up. He attacked with everything he had left, targeting the same spots over and over. Kal's knee, his damaged eye, the soft tissue under his arms. He couldn't hurt the champion with raw force, so he used precision. He used intelligence. He used the one thing humans had always been best at. He refused to give up. The fight went on. 5 minutes. 10. Kal landed devastating blows. but Danny always rose. He couldn't win with strength, so he won with will. Every time he fell, he got back up. Every time Kyle thought he was finished, he proved the champion wrong. The crowd fell silent, watching in awe. Finally, Cal made a mistake. His exhaustion betrayed him, and he overextended. Danny caught his arm, twisted, and threw himself into a joint lock. Cal crashed to the ground with Danny on top of him, wrenching the arm toward the breaking point. "Surrender," Danny gasped. Blood dripping from his face onto the champion's scales. Cal struggled, but Danny held firm. The arm bent further. Any more and it would snap. "Surrender," Danny repeated. For a long moment, the arena held its breath. Zirith Kal, the undefeated champion, lay pinned by a creature half his size. A creature everyone had laughed at. A creature they had called prey. "I surrender," Kal whispered. The arena exploded. Danny released the champion and collapsed onto his back, staring up at the lights. He couldn't move. He could barely breathe. But he had won. He had won. 3 months later, Megan Cole walked out of the treatment center on her own 2 feet. The neurological degeneration was gone, reversed by the most advanced medicine galactic credits could buy. She was healthy. She was whole. Danny waited for her outside, leaning against a pillar because his body still hadn't fully healed. When she saw him, she ran into his arms. "You did it," she whispered. "You actually did it." "I made a promise," he said, holding her tight. "I told you, I don't break promises." They stood there for a long time, brother and sister, together again. Across the galaxy, the story of Danny Cole had become legend. In taverns and council chambers, in military academies and frontier outposts, they told the tale of the human who had entered the greatest tournament in the galaxy as a nobody. They spoke of how he had beaten impossible odds, how he had refused to stay down, how he had broken the unbreakable champion. Humanity was no longer invisible. They were no longer weak. They were the species that produced Danny Cole, and the galaxy would never underestimate them again. And in a small apartment on an outer rim station, Megan Cole watched a recording of her brother's final match. She had seen it 100 times, but she never got tired of it. She never got tired of watching the moment when everyone had counted him out, when the champion had him by the throat, when the whole galaxy thought it was over. She never got tired of watching her brother get back up, because that was what humans did. That was what Danny Cole had shown the universe. They fell. They bled. They broke. But they always got back up, and that made them the most dangerous species in the galaxy.